Good morning. I'm Becky Elliott, a member of this congregation and a worship associate, and I'm really glad that you have joined us this morning. Today's service is lay-led, focusing on the Soul Matters theme for May, which is a people of story. There are many kinds of stories, old stories and new stories, mythical stories and true stories, family stories and collective stories, stories of courage and hope and hardships, stories we tell ourselves, stories we tell others, and stories we keep secret. Today I will share some personal stories that have changed the story I tell myself and that have challenged me to grow spiritually. The opening words this morning come from the Reverend Lynn Cox. Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth. Come, you who have been in a bubble, you who are poised for transformation. We begin our story again, gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, different backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much of us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey.
If that's what you want, be your number one. I can fake a smile, I can force a laugh, I can dance and play the part if that's what you ask. Give you all I am. I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But I'm only human, and I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human, and I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart, 'cause I'm only human. Yeah. turn it on. Be a good machine. I can hold the weight of worlds if that's what you need. Be your everything. I can do it. I can do it. I'll get through it. But I'm only human, and I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human, and I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart. I'm only human. I'm only human. I'm only human. Just a little human. I can take so much till I've had enough. 'Cause I'm only human, and I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human, and I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart. I'm only human.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the liberal religious tradition to which this congregation belongs. If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light yours along with me now. As we kindle this flame, we recommit ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to build a Unitarian Universalist community that transforms lives and empowers people to serve the world. May the light of this flame be welcoming to all who seek a liberal religious home.
Please join us in your hymnal to hymn number 134, Our World is One World. Our world is a one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is a one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate, we make a bridge for a wall. Our world is a one world. Its ways of wealth affects us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many whole.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Ford Knorr, a member of this congregation and one of your worship associates. If you're visiting us for the first time this morning, I offer you a special welcome. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Raleigh, we are intentionally inclusive, liberally religious, and actively serving the common good of our shared world. Whoever you are, and wherever you are on your own religious journey, you are welcome here. As Unitarian Universalists, we seek wisdom and inspiration from many sources, but affirm our own individual experiences and conscience is the best authority for our beliefs. We are committed to making our world more compassionate and more just, and hope that you might join one of our many efforts to do so. So if you're new to us, I invite you to fill out our visitor form. You can find that at uufr.org/visitor form. And if you do this, you'll start receiving the Chalice, which is our weekly newsletter. And I encourage everyone to read through this week's Chalice, which you should have received on Thursday evening, and I will highlight 3 important pieces of information. Number 1, next Sunday, June 6th, we will not have a regular worship service. Instead, next Sunday, we will hold our annual congregational meeting at 11 a.m. by Zoom. We will elect new board members, approve an annual budget, and vote on a statement of conscience, among other things. And there's more information about this on the website, uufr.org/annual meeting. Secondly, the following Sunday, which is June 13th, we are resuming in-person worship services at UUFR. Please remember that we are switching the start time for our worship service to 10:30 a.m. And to learn more about this, uufr.org/reopening. For those who do not yet feel safe returning to in-person worship, there are options. We will still be live streaming our service on YouTube, and we will be broadcasting our service on a low-powered FM transmitter to our parking lot. As we resume more in-person activities at UUFR, we're in need of more volunteers. So if you'd like to find out about volunteer opportunities, again, our website, uufr.org/volunteers. And finally, number 3, instead of the usual social hour after service today, our board will lead a discussion about the budget and other items that we'll be voting on next Sunday, June 6th. So please join this discussion online immediately after the service. There are instructions about how to do this on the website. So although we can't greet each other in person this morning, we're so close. At this time, I'd like to invite you to greet one another using the chat function on your screen. Good morning.
I'm Trish Chagden, your Family Ministry Director. Each month, we explore our Soul Matters themes through small group ministry discussions, family ministry resources, and worship. Today's service is all about this month's theme, story. So I would like to share with you a retelling of the traditional story of beautiful friendship. There once was a beautiful and charismatic woman who used to walk through the streets of the town, and everywhere she went, she was noticed. Everyone in the town wanted to talk to her, listen to her, ask her questions, and spend time with her. In the same town, there was a quiet girl who dressed in rags. She too was actually very beautiful, but no one ever noticed her or wanted to have anything to do with her. She was lonely and sad, and she would gaze at the beautiful, charismatic, and finely dressed woman and see how much attention everyone paid her. And she found herself wishing that people would pay attention to her too. For she knew she had so much in her heart and wisdom she wanted to share, but no one would listen. So one day, the quiet little girl dressed in rags summoned her courage and spoke to the beautiful lady in fine clothes. "Please," she said, "excuse me, but may I ask you a favor?" The charismatic woman, who was actually a very kind person, turned around at once and smiled at the quiet girl. "Of course," she replied. "What can I do for you?" "Well," ventured the quiet girl, "it's like this. You are very appealing, and everyone is drawn to you. They are quick to take notice of you. But I do not appear quite as interesting. I do not wear fine clothes, and no one ever notices me. I wonder if, just for one day, I might hide myself inside your beautiful cloak and walk around with you through the town. Then whenever people start to notice you, they might also see me and think I have something important to tell them that they would value." The elegant woman readily agreed to the quiet girl's request. So the very next morning, she wrapped her fine cape around the quiet girl in her rags, and they walked together through the town. As usual, people stopped to admire the fine lady, and when they did so, they also noticed the girl wrapped in her clothing. As they walked, the fine lady talked with the quiet girl. She asked all about her and was very interested in everything she had to say. She discovered just how wise that quiet and ragged girl actually was, and they quickly became the best of friends. So much so that after that day, they never wanted to be parted. To this day, they still walk through the world together. The name of that quiet little girl dressed in rags, she is called Truth. And her charismatic friend, in beautiful clothes, who everyone admires, her name is Story. This week, I've been thinking about how the best thing about a good story is how it catches our attention and directs it towards truth. I am sending you so much love.
This is the time in our service when we acknowledge some of the joys and sorrows of our community. If you'd like to share an individual joy or sorrow, I invite you to do so now using the chat function on your screen. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, a day when we remember the brave men and women in our armed forces who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Sarah and I lit special candles this morning in remembrance of them. We are reminded that all wars are tragedies that claim the lives of both soldiers and civilians, and we pray for peace. I'd like to share some joys and sorrows we received by email. This morning, we also lit a candle for the 11 lives lost in 2 mass shootings this week in Miami and San Jose. We send our prayers to the families of those killed, as well as to the many people injured. May there one day be a time when words like these no longer need to be spoken from pulpits, and may we help bring that world into being. Paula Hope shares the sorrow that a friend lost her newborn to anencephaly this week. He defied the odds, surviving to 5 days old, as only 5% of babies with his diagnosis, in which his skull fused prematurely, preventing his brain from developing. His parents savored and celebrated every moment with their baby boy, and Paula has been privileged and wholeheartedly grateful to share her friend's journey. Larry and Jerry Meisner are sad to have lost their beloved longtime pet and friend, Bella. Bella was a sweet dog who always had a smile and a wag. Larry and Jerry, we hold you in our hearts in this time of grief. The flowers today are given in the joy of the beginning to emerge from the pandemic that we are undergoing, and in memory of those who died. As we reflect on all these shared joys and sorrows, as well as the joys, sorrows, fears, and hopes of our own lives, let's be together now for a time of stillness and silence, opening ourselves to the Spirit within us, between us, and amidst us, called by many names, but known to every human heart, that leads us towards a fuller experience of life. After the silence, we'll sing hymn number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. But now, let us be together in stillness and silence.
I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love.
UUFR is a community of shared stories and experiences. We gather together to share our stories and to support one another on our spiritual journeys, wherever they take us. And this is only possible because of the generous financial support that so many of you provide. We try to make being generous as convenient as possible, so I invite you to see the instructions that will appear on your screen during our offertory. It's now time for our offering. Please be generous, and thank you.
Look at me, look at me. I am changing, trying every way I can. I am changing. I'll be better than I am. I'm trying to find a way to understand, but I need you, I need you, I need a hand. I am changing, seeing everything so clear. I am changing. I'm gonna start right now, right here. I'm hoping to And I know that I can, but I need you. I need a hand. All of my life I've been a fool who said I could do it all alone. How many good friends have I already lost? And how many dark nights have I known? Walking down that wrong road, there was nothing I could find. All those years of darkness can make a person blind. But now I can see I am changing, trying every way I can. I am changing. I'll be better than I am, but I need a friend to help me start all over again. Oh, that would be just fine. I know it's gonna work out this time, 'cause this time I am, this time I am. I am changing. I'll get my life together now. I am changing. Yes, I know how. I'm gonna start again. I'm gonna leave my past behind. I'll change my life. I'll make a vow, and nothing's gonna stop me. No.
Freddie, thank you for being awesome. We have 2 readings today from the Reverend Scott Taylor, and the first is called "Let Us Drink from the Stories That Sustain Us." We gather as a house of stories. As we learn of those who have gone before, the way in front of us becomes more clear. As we weave together the tales of who we are, our loneliness lessens, and the web of our oneness is revealed. As we listen deeply in those times of tender trust, we descend into the longings and learnings, hopes and fears of the humanity we share. Beneath the wells from which we drink, there is a deeper well that feeds them all. Come, let us tell each other tales of our thirst. Let us drink from the stories that sustain us all. And the second reading is called "Wooed into This World." Who dreamed you into being? What stories sat in their heart as they imagined what you would become? Who helped you imagine your story? Who helped you see your place in this world? And what matters the most, who helped you understand that you could be the author of your own unfolding? All of which is a way of asking, who listened? Who listened until you could hear yourself speak, until you trusted the voice that is your own? And what about those stories of others, those kept in cramped spaces of silence, for fear of how hard and narrow this world of ours can be? Who needs your listening so that their story can be set free? Whose story needs to be held in your heart so it knows it is worth entering into the world? We say it's about listening, but really it's about love. It is through affection that our stories are born. They are wooed into this world. Never forget that. Nor this. It is through loving the stories that we discover they love us back. Amen.
Some years ago, when my son was a teenager and we were living in Salt Lake City, Mara Pike and her 2 teenage children from Germany traded houses with my next-door neighbor. She brought Peter and Stephanie to the United States so they could attend school here for a semester. Stephanie was a year older than my son Jonathan, and Peter a year younger. Peter and Jonathan became inseparable. They both loved computers and juggling, and if you saw them together with their blonde hair and lean frames, you might think they were related to one another. Mara was a wonderful neighbor. We shared dinners and holidays, and my family was very sad that they would return to Germany after the Christmas holiday. While I was trying to get up the nerve to ask if Jonathan could maybe visit them for a week or 2 in the summer, Mara offered to have Jonathan live with them for a semester and attend school in Germany. What an opportunity. He went and came home with memories that will last a lifetime. Over the following years, I was able to visit Mara during personal and work-related trips to Europe. She and I stayed in touch with emails and cards. When Stephanie was 32 years old and a new mother, Mara sent me an email saying that Stephanie had cancer. "Becky," she wrote, "I know you are a Christian woman. Please pray for my daughter." Christian, pray. These 2 words had not been relevant to my life for probably 20 years or so at that time. I often took such an opportunity to explain to friends that I am not Christian. As I reread Mara's plea for help, I thought, it doesn't matter that she thinks I'm Christian. It's irrelevant to correct my anguished friend about my religious beliefs. Instead, I wrote back to her and said, yes, of course, I will pray for Stephanie. And I added that I would ask everyone in my congregation during Joys and Concerns to pray too. I shocked myself with this response. After all, I walked into my first UU church listening for all those words I found objectionable then, like pray and sin and God and hell. You know the list I'm talking about. So how did I get to the point where I said, it doesn't matter if she thinks I'm a Christian? Today I will share several stories from my life that have shaped my spiritual journey and prompted me to change the story I believe about myself. The journey probably began when I was 9 or 10 years old, sitting in the United Methodist Church on a Sunday morning, listening to the minister tell us that if we didn't go to church every Sunday, then we would go to hell. My family went to church every Sunday, and that included Sunday school. I have 8 years of attendance pins to prove it. My parents were active in church leadership, And I can remember helping my mom count the offering money from Sunday mornings when she served as treasurer. My grandmother also went every Sunday, but my grandfather rarely attended. I thought about him that day. The minister was saying that my grandfather would go to hell because he didn't go to church every Sunday. My grandfather was a good man. He raised 6 children, and after that, he raised 3 stepchildren. He was a good neighbor. He always helped people. He was loving and kind. How was it that he would go to hell because he didn't go to church? This story is my first memory of questioning what I was told to believe. Don Miguel Ruiz in the 4 Agreements tells us that when we were children, we agreed to the things our parents and family members and teachers told us. When we agreed, we believed it. We became it. This is often where I can't sing and I can't dance comes from. Someone told us this when we were young and we agreed, and it became who we are. While I still agreed then that I was a Christian and believed in God, I no longer agreed that everything they told me is true. Let's fast forward to when I was a young mother, newly divorced, and a college student. Yes, I did all that the hard way. I had now been attending this United Methodist Church in my small Indiana community my whole life. My son had been baptized in that church, and as an adult, I was aware of the loving talk on Sundays and the backstabbing during the week. I was also learning about women's rights and patriarchy. I began to feel that I didn't fit anymore, and one day, I wrote a new agreement with myself, which was that I wanted nothing to do with patriarchal religion. I told myself I was an agnostic. I didn't know if God existed. I just didn't care. It would be 10 more years before my spiritual journey got interesting. When I moved to Salt Lake City, I met Lucy through the National Organization for Women. It was Lucy, the top feminist in Utah, who first invited me to go to her Unitarian Universalist church. What? How could such a strong feminist be involved in organized religion? Really? A feminist went to church? Occasionally, I would ask her questions about her church, but I wasn't really interested and decided to let it be one of those mysteries that I didn't need to understand. The agreement with myself, the story I told myself that I would have nothing to do with organized religion, was firmly set. Lucy didn't give up on me, though. She kept inviting me. One Sunday morning, I read in the paper that a mutual friend, the head of the Utah Civil Liberties Union, was the guest speaker at Lucy's church that day. I wondered if I should go. And then Lucy called with a personal invitation. I agreed to go, but I took my magnifying glasses. If anyone said anything that was sexist, racist, homophobic, ageist, you get the idea. It wasn't going to escape my attention. Just one wrong word and my belief about organized religion would be confirmed. Instead, we sang new words to the doxology, touching my heart and allowing me to find new meaning in something I'd thrown away. And the people were warm and friendly and didn't use any of the forbidden words on my list. I decided to go back, still with the magnifying glasses, waiting for God words and other unacceptable terms so that I could say, I gave it a try, but organized religion is organized religion. Obviously, Unitarian Universalism passed the test, as I have been a member now for over 30 years. What I learned is that organized religion doesn't necessarily mean patriarchal religion. My magnifying glasses were a constant accessory, though, in those early years. I was glad we didn't have God talk in church, or if those words crept in, they were part of a broader discussion. I wanted nothing to do with traditional religious language. The agreement with myself, my story, was that I belonged to a UU church, but religious language just annoyed me. I had zero tolerance for it. This brings me to the story about my friend Dave, a well-established member of my first UU church. He was one of those people you could always count on. He was there for all church cleanups, for congregational workshops, for adult RE classes. He helped out on Sundays with the services or with coffee. He volunteered to help at events, led hikes in the Wasatch Mountains, marched with the congregation in the Gay Pride Parade, and rallied on the steps of the state capitol with the rest of us for women's rights. He and his wife came to church almost every Sunday. He was a great guy who cared a lot about the church and about the people who made up the community. There was one thing, though, that was perplexing. He would never come to church or to any event if he knew that Amazing Grace would be sung or performed. He hated the song, and no amount of cajoling would get him to change his mind. He would not come to any event if this song would be sung because he hated the word wretch. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I couldn't believe that he would stay away from a special event just because of one word. One word would keep him from being there, being present, being with friends, supporting the rest of the congregation. This was too much. He needed to get over it. He just needed to get over it. One word he didn't like, and he refused to participate. Did this have anything to do with me? My list had more than one word on it. His taking offense at the word wretch and my thinking it was nothing led me to the insight that we all look at these words differently, from different perspectives, and most likely from different painful experiences. What was I to do? I didn't want to be like Dave. I didn't want to not participate because of some words. I didn't want to be offended anymore. And so I began a deliberate process of thinking about all the religious terms I found offensive and finding new definitions for them. Pray became sending healing energy. God became this energy that connects us. Saved became found inner peace. Once I started this process, it became easier and easier to hear traditional religious language. I was translating from traditional religious language to my spiritual language. I could hear these words, use my definitions instead of the speaker's, and surprise, I wasn't offended anymore. Here's my next story. When my grandson was 5 years old, he needed open heart surgery to repair a birth defect. As a small child with learning disabilities, he had no way of understanding what was happening to him. While his doctors always said that the defect was easy to fix, it sure seemed like a big deal to me. My daughter-in-law, who believes in astrology and spells and magic with a K, asked everyone to envision cool water washing over Connor's heart during the surgery. So, I asked my UU congregation and almost everyone in my Outlook Express address book to do just that. I sent the request to family members who would not understand and perhaps even disapprove, and to friends who knew my religious beliefs do not fall in the mainstream. My Missouri Synod Lutheran aunt wrote back, "Everyone in my church will be praying for Connor." Mara, my German friend, wrote that she would also visualize angels around the operating table. Other friends and family talked about positive energy, holding all of us in their thoughts and prayers. Because of the religious language translations that I had been doing, I was able to hear the love and care and hope for a successful surgery that these people were sending my family and me. The words were irrelevant. The meaning behind them touched me deeply. And later I realized that hearing my aunt speak of prayer and Mara speak of angels was more meaningful than hearing them use my spiritual language. They were being real, sharing their authentic selves with me, and I love them for who they are. As a footnote, the surgery was successful, and Connor is now 20 years old. With this story, I learned it was possible to listen for and even embrace the feelings and intent behind the words. The agreement I made with myself, my story had changed again. Or so I thought. Here's one last story for today. 6 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. In March of 2016, she entered hospice. It was emotional, as you can imagine, with saying goodbye, watching her final days, and thinking about what came next. While my parents had been active in the United Methodist Church when we kids were young, by that time they had not attended for years. I knew my parents didn't really believe all the Christian stuff, and I didn't think of them as Christian. However, this wasn't something I could say out loud. My dad wanted to plan the funeral service. Now I panicked about the message and the language. At an aunt's funeral a couple of years earlier, I had heard I would go to hell if I didn't accept Jesus as my personal Savior. No way did I want any of that language at my mom's funeral. My brother's brother-in-law was an ordained minister in a conservative Christian tradition, and he knew my parents. My dad wanted him to do the service. My sister and I really didn't. We had conversations that were painful for my dad, and I'm sorry about that still today. What I realized is that notwithstanding all the new definitions I had come up with and all the translating words and phrases I had done and all the listening for the meaning behind the words I had done, I wasn't ready to hear that language at my mom's funeral. A UU friend of mine once said that her translator frequently malfunctioned amidst strong emotions, and we all had strong emotions. I thought about walking out of the funeral if the minister's remarks touched on the going to hell language. That would have hurt my dad and my large extended family. What I decided to do was have a small service for my immediate family before the public one, a service that I put together. Everyone was invited to tell a story about my mom. My son sang a song. I found some meaningful words to share. That intimate service soothed my UU heart and allowed me to stay in the public service. My dad will be 91 on Tuesday. This issue will come up again sooner than I would like. and I realize, as I share these remarks today, I feel no closer to accepting traditional religious language at a funeral for him than I was 5 years ago at my mom's. I need to expand my new dictionary of terms. I need to make a new agreement with myself. I need to tell myself a new story. I can only change myself, not anyone else. And I better get started. So be it. Blessed be. Amen.
Please join us in our hymnals to song number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. The closing words today are by the Reverend Sherry Woodbury. May we have the courage to speak or write the stories within us that need to be told, the stories that make up our lives. May we listen with a loving mind and heart to the stories of others' lives, others here in this church, and others in the wider community and world. Let us choose with care the stories that we teach to our children, remembering that all of our stories have power and that all of our stories are connected, for all of life is one. In the name of all that is sacred in these gathered hearts, may it be so. Amen.
Now, I'm going to talk and I'm going to record this so I can see what's going on. I'm going to talk and I'm going to record. It only looks like the left channel is active. Why is the right channel not showing active? Or maybe they're just labeled incorrectly. I'm wondering here because it shows it's actually this STL. It says stereo right here in the little bar. It says stereo right there. And you're getting 2 channels. I said, okay, so maybe this is just a mislabeling. Yeah. Because we're probably doing mono. We're probably not doing anything stereo. So we're probably sending basically everything through one set of channels.
Let me grab the book.